I'm Donna Marie Bell, and I'm going to read Claire Souter's story about her bear, Rupert.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing Rupert with you today. As we know, an untraced find is an item in a collection that is a legal term that if you don't know where it comes from. And as a curator, I've built up a collection of objects, many of which don't have a story. I found this bear. I was walking past an antique shop, and he was a lot in an auction, and I bid for him, and I just hoped and prayed that my bid went through. And they rang me to say, "Are you coming to collect your bears?" Plural. There were 40 bears in a bag, and he was number one, but he's the only one to me that has a story. The others are identifiable. I know where I could buy them. So in this process, in this story, the bear has taken on a really beautiful character almost. Would you like to tell us a little bit about the story and how Claire brought this story together?
Yes, Claire wrote the story with regards to Rupert, the teddy bear. She said that it belonged to a little girl called Nancy, who in 1938 she had it as a present from Santa, and she absolutely adored this bear. But lo and behold, in early September 39, World War II broke out. So her and her sister and brother were sent as evacuees to the countryside. So of course Rupert had to come with her. And when they got to the train station, they were all being tags around their neck, and they were only allowed a certain amount of things with them. They could have one book and one small toy, so of course Rupert went with her. And as you can imagine, the scene at the train station, a lot of tears from the family and whatnot, but Rupert was her comfort. So they headed off, and she let her younger sister Anna, who was only 4, hold it all because she was particularly upset. So whenever they got off the train, amid all the rush, lo and behold, they lost Anna. And when they actually found her on a bench, she was crying. And she was more crying about the fact that she had lost Rupert, because she knew what Rupert meant to Nancy. It had fallen out of her hand in the pushing and the shoving in the train station. So anyway, they headed off. They were picked up by Mr. Todd, who took them to his farmhouse, and Mr. Todd and his wife tried to comfort them and made them feel very, very welcome. But Nancy was definitely missing Rupert, and Mr. Todd said that he would go and check each day to see if it had been handed in. And they went the next day, and no, that hadn't been. So Nancy wasn't happy. And then the next day, day 2, a strange car came into the yard, and Mr. Todd went over, and a gentleman was speaking to him, and they called Nancy over. And as Nancy was walking towards the car, she could see that the gentleman had Rupert in his hands, and she just was overwhelmed with joy and was reunited with Rupert.
But it's a very believable story. As we all know, during the Second World War, Belfast was, there was a state of war. In 1941, there was a huge bombing in Belfast, and 1,000 people died. And the evacuation scheme was very different to England. People took it upon themselves to send their children away. And they didn't go that far, but it was far enough away to be separated. They call it a time of separation, hardship and loss. And just looking at you holding the bear, I can almost see the bear's story. He's got those wistful eyes of a bear and quite a sad face, but he's been well loved. He's got well-worn paws, but I always feel a bear knows everything. A bear knows a child's secrets, and that child becomes an adult and knows all the adult secrets. So the bear is the kind of holder of many, many bits of information. He's a typical bear of the 1930s. He's straw-filled, he's got leather paws, he's got a little bit of wear and tear, but the one thing I wouldn't ever do is clean him or change him in any way. For me, he's going to be the holder of that story that Claire has said. And I think an object is an opportunity as a vessel to tell a story, and the fact that you've been able to interpret Claire's story for her. Now, Claire wasn't able to tell the story today, but she's written it in a book, and the book we have in front of us, that will take part in the exhibition that accompanies this podcast. And I think the story is believable. It's a time that people are drawn to at the moment. There are lots of similarities between what people have been through during the pandemic and the Second World War, you know, restrictions and not being able to do your normal everyday things. So the fact that story has been told has brought the whole concept of this project to life. And I know we spent many times going through the details and everything, but you've been able to deliver the story in a very believable way. And I think Claire should be really proud of the story that she's written. Is there anything you'd like to say about the project? Anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, Claire enjoyed it very much. She has written a little evaluation. She's just said that she enjoyed writing it, and it has been really good fun. She thinks that the bear looks slightly more happier now that his story has been told.
Considering he was the top of the pile and he found me, but I knew nothing about him, so I'm going to identify him now as Rupert, and that is his story. So I'd like to thank you for giving up your time today to come and talk to us and tell us the story for Claire, and then people will be able to see the exhibition as well and listen to the podcast. So thank you so much, Donna.
Thank you.